Hello, friends and family. This is Reverend Dr. Patricia Keel, and I'm feeling very blessed to be able to share with you an Easter message. You know, Easter is one of those things as a minister we have an opportunity to do over and over again. And yet it's a different river that we're stepping in each time that we look at this powerful message. And this is, of course, a very different river that we're all swimming in right now. I'm feeling really, really grateful to have the opportunity to shelter in place, to connect virtually with friends and family, and to be able to offer support and prayer for people in our spiritual community and beyond using these wonderful technological advances that we have at our disposal. As I said last week, I think Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, co-founders of Unity, would be just amazed and excited to be able to have this kind of technology. They were using radio, and that was a big deal at their time. So the Easter story. I'm hoping many of you have had a chance to listen to the talk from last week, from Palm Sunday. You know, this has been Holy Week, such a week. Whether we're looking at the story in the Bible or whether we're looking at pieces of what's going on in our own communities, in our country and in the world, this is very much indeed a holy week, a week with many, many situations of trouble, betrayal, violence, death, uncertainty. I would say uncertainty is one of the key things that's happening in our world right now. And for many people, that uncertainty is really founded in a place of fear. And I think this story brings us to a really deeper understanding, not only of the story as we understand it through the lens of our unity awareness and the teachings that we've been gifted with Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, but I think teachings and awareness that the world is coming to now in terms of what is possible for us. Charles Fillmore talks about Easter from the Revealing Word, and he said, Easter is a time of awakening. It's a time when we are able to come out of the tomb of materiality, he calls it, where there has been trespass and sin. In that tomb, darkness prevails. And yet this moment of Easter is a time of awakening into higher consciousness, into our spiritual consciousness, as he puts it, into the spiritual consciousness of the I am presence. And we can hold the I am to mean that divine presence within us, the Christ presence within us, the Christed nature, the whole and holy nature, the whole nature of the divine that we carry as an aspect of the divine in our humanness. And so as we look at this story, there's so many ways that we can see parallels that are happening in the world right now. If we look back at Holy Week and we see some of the things that have happened, and knowing that Jesus full well, as he was walking into Jerusalem from that place of humility, knowing full well some of the things that would unfold for him, we can look inside ourselves and see some of the same kinds of things happening. If we think about the story, we know that Jesus was faced with massive betrayal. 2 of his 7 disciples betrayed him. First of all, Judas betrayed him. And in our unity teachings, Judas represents the life force energy, that life energy of who we are, the vitality of who we are. And to have us betray that energy by misusing it. This is how Charles Fillmore talks about the Judas quality within us. And can't we see how in our culture right now, there's been a massive misuse of the vitality and the vital energy of the physical body. Certainly, even if we look deeper and understand that that life force energy also represents Mother Earth and our environment, there's been a massive misuse of that energy, that quality of life. So Jesus faced that kind of betrayal, and each one of us in our own ways have either internally been dealing with a misuse of our own health and vitality over the years, and have this opportunity when we're sheltered in place. I won't even call that being entombed, but we are in this place of stillness and quiet, potentially, to take a look at that quality that Judas brings to us. Other betrayals that Jesus endured, one of his most, I would say, his master disciple was Peter, often referred to as Simon Peter. And Peter, in the teachings of unity, represents the quality of faith. And wasn't it Peter at the Last Supper, Jesus says, "You will betray me 3 times before morning comes." And Peter denies it. No, that could never happen. I'm so close. I love you so much. And then what happens in the garden? Peter's like, oh, this guy, I don't know him. He's just looking out for himself, that sort of obsessive, self-centered nature that we have as humans. Peter, our faith factor, represented that in the Garden of Gethsemane. Denied Jesus, denied even knowing him. So as the story begins to unfold, we begin to see things that go on inside of ourselves. And certainly we can see in our culture right now, there's quite a bit of what we might call betrayal, denial going on, not really taking a look at and seeing what's happening in the outer. It doesn't mean that we don't see a higher purpose unfolding, that we don't see ourselves moving into higher consciousness, Christ consciousness. But it does mean that we have to look and see what's going on, what's really happening. And Jesus was calling to us to do that throughout the whole week. He was calling his disciples. He was telling him what would happen. And he also told them he would come back after all of this, after the betrayal, after the violence. The violence, the angry crowd. Do we see the angry crowd happening now? We see it in our culture. Maybe that angry crowd exists inside of us. Where is it that we're holding anger? Anger for not being able to do the things we love to do, anger for what's going on in the physical body, anger for what's happening in our economy right now, anger for fear of not knowing. This uncertainty can bring a sense of anger, and anger and sadness as well. There can be a grief that's happening. Certainly if you look back at this story, the Easter story in Holy Week, you must see how much grief is held. Jesus' mother there watching her son being crucified on the cross, Mary Magdalene and the disciples who loved him. Feeling that grief and also knowing for some of them that they had betrayed their friend and their way shower and their master. And so that is not the end of the story. Are we not blessed in the same way with an understanding of what's happening for us? And I read a passage that I'm going to put through as part of our meditation in a separate audio file for all of you, because every single Easter, the passage of Luke 20 is really one of my favorites. It brings tears to my eyes. It is the beautiful story of the morning after Jesus is crucified. And it's 2 disciples. It's John and Simon Peter. Peter, who has regained his standing, who is our faith factor. And you know, I love Peter because Peter so much represents who we are in our own lives. You know, we have great faith in the power and the presence of God. We pray to God, we listen for guidance. And then sometimes we forget. We forget who we are. We forget our connection with the divine, and we wander off on our own and do and say things that cause us pain, cause pain to other people, that bring consequences that we would not wish on anyone. And Peter did just that. But he always, you know, he lifts himself up, whether it's walking on water to go see Jesus, or whether it's coming to the tomb with the disciple that Jesus loved the best, that we can know is John, that disciple that is the heart connection of love. They go to the tomb and they go with Mary, and they're going into the tomb, and they're very uncertain about what's going on. They remember the story that Jesus said he would come back, but there was nothing there. And then there's this beautiful part of the story, it always makes me cry, where Mary turns and she sees Jesus, but she doesn't know it's Jesus. She thinks it's the gardener. And she asks, where have you taken my Lord? She's so present and ready to do whatever is necessary, believing that perhaps she's going to be doing something with the body of Jesus. And then Jesus turns to her and says, no, Mary, Rabboni, it's your teacher, it's me. Please go and tell our family that I am here, as I said I would be. Such a beautiful story. And you know, I think there's a John in us, there's Peter, there's a Judas, but there's also a Mary. You know, there's that Mary that's going to be there and do whatever is necessary to reconnect with the living Christ Spirit. It's that Mary consciousness, that quality within us that will do whatever in order to support, to nurture, to take care of. And when we're willing to hold that consciousness, that's when this portal is open to us. This portal that connects us to Christ consciousness, to the highest and best of who we are moment to moment. And I believe this idea that Charles Fillmore talked about, this he has risen, this incredible, beautiful story that we read in the Bible, is not to be taken as a literal story. It's to be taken as our own journey in consciousness, a journey out of darkness, out of that time when uncertainty, doubt, depression, sadness, grief, whatever it is that pulls us into a place of feeling disconnected from higher consciousness, from the divine presence, from Jesus's very light being, and from our loved ones. For many of us, that place of being in the tomb, that sense of disconnection, of isolation, can be very real right now. And yet, if we're able to take this story as our own story, we can know in any moment the quality of faith, the quality of love, and that nurturing presence that will do whatever it needs to reconnect with the God life within, with the Christ consciousness, with the Jesus presence, with that higher consciousness, with our higher power, the living spirit of truth. However you know that presence, that brings you into a place of deep, deep knowing that you are never alone. That the God presence goes before you, indwells you, lifts you, supports you, brings vitality in the physical body, will even bring you groceries if you make the call. This is the Easter story. We are risen. The divine is risen within us moment to moment when we're willing to add love and faith together with that quality of holding, supporting, surrounding not only ourselves, but all of our loved ones and humanity at large. So I invite you to go within and see, maybe there's moments in your day when you're really feeling that darkness, you're feeling like you're in the tomb, and it's time to allow the stone to be rolled away. They never tell us who rolled the stone away. For me, I believe it happens when we're willing to become very, very still. When there's, in a sense, almost a death to the old and a willingness to awaken to another level of consciousness. So it's a blessing to be with you and to share a message today. We have a wonderful new board at Unity of Richmond. They're very active, talking to each other a lot. And I want to invite you to support the church, even though we can't all be there together on Sunday or during teaching classes and during the week. We still have expenses and things going on that we need to cover. And so we invite you to make a donation. There's a donate button just up on the right of the website, and you can go there and you can either use a credit card, or there's information there of the address of the church. You can mail a tithe or love offering check directly to the church, and our wonderful team of angels will gather it safely and deposit it in the bank for us. So we really invite you to share your tithes and love offerings with Unity of Richmond East Bay. Other things that are happening after the service, after this time, we invite you to join us at 11:30 on Sunday morning. We'll be doing it every Sunday as long as we're sheltered in place here, where we have a virtual time to have virtual fellowship. So grab your coffee or whatever you're doing at that time of day. It's 11:30 Pacific time, and go on the Zoom. The information is in the web, and you can find out what number you can call it on your phone, or you can press a button and you'll be right there and we can see your beautiful face. We also want to thank Stephanie Slade for creating our virtual living cross this year. Normally at Unity, and I think Unity churches all over, people bring flowers and create a beautiful cross made out of flowers. And Stephanie, our Director of Fund, did it virtually for us. So we're so grateful for that, Stephanie. And hopefully the music piece that we are putting together is going to come through beautifully so that you'll have a sense of what's happening at Unity of Richmond East Bay. Next week, Bob will be speaking and give you a virtual message. And the following week, I'm going to begin a series on lessons in truth. We'll be doing that book as a Sunday message and also offering a class on Tuesdays. So we'll give you more information about that, and everybody's invited to join us for both the Sunday message and also the class. Anyway, know that God loves you, that I love you. Our community is healthy, safe, and sheltered in place right now, but we reach out to connect with you through that living spirit of truth, the Christ presence, and we know not only He is risen, but we are risen, powered by faith, powered by love, and powered by a connection that supports each one of us. So love and blessings to you all. Looking forward to see you on our virtual fellowship very soon.